All right, and now we are recording. Welcome to this week's version of Contributor Experience. Today is March 28th, all day. We do have a light agenda today. It's actually nothing on the agenda, but there are definitely things that we can talk about. And if you have any agenda items, please feel free to just either pipe up at any time or put those on the agenda, and then we'll get started. So first thing that I actually wanted to talk about was mentoring a little bit. And if that's okay, I'll start with that. Does anybody have any pressing matters that they want to discuss first? Okay. All right. And if somebody can help me take notes, I just don't want to type in your ear at the same time as I talk. All right. So with mentoring, all right, we've got 5 programs right now. We've got Google Summer of Code, which we have not much control over, and Nikita is handling that. They are in like knee-deep phases at this point. We have Outreachy that we have no control over, and when I say no control over, I mean the infrastructure of how the program works. Outreachy has officially completed. And that is a 2-semester deal a year, and so we've officially completed the first round, and then now we've got what we are controlling the infrastructure for, which is group mentoring, the buddy program. I feel like I'm missing one. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's only Wednesday. Anyway, so I guess we'll just talk about those. So group mentoring right now, I'm spinning up another cohort. The first test cohort is about to complete. We have about a 40% completion rate so far, which I think is excellent for a test. The test, again, was 10 people who were all going from current member to reviewer status in 3 different SIGs, working groups rather. For instance, CubeADM, Workload API, which is a part of SIG apps, and then COPS, which is a part of Lifecycle. So that was really well. We have a lot of lesson learned there. I've mentioned one of the lessons is that we cannot pair mentors up with people who are like 8 time zones away from them. I think that was an obvious, but we just wanted to spin this up to see, what we could get. So the thing that I'm working on right now with group mentoring is how can we make this self-service? So self-service scales, and how do we take me out of this equation? So for instance, if you are a chair of, say, SIG node, and you want more approvers, how can you spin up a group mentoring engagement on your own? So we've decided that I can put some automation to the form. And then that automation will push a weekly email to all of the SIG leads that say, hey, you have so many people that are in the queue for group mentoring. And then once that happens, then they can either reach out to these people or reach out to me, and then we can take it from there. And then the me person is giving them a private Slack channel, a cohort calendar. The cohort calendar consists of things like their SIG meetings they need to go to, the community meetings they need to go to, their biweekly stand-ups. So I'm pretty much creating a system for them to pass off. So it's almost like a framework. And then all the mentor has to do is mentor. So that's group mentoring. That's where we are now. I could definitely use some help in the automation field. So I've got a couple people right now that are looking at the form to see how we could better automate that. And again, the automation piece is coming from me wanting to debus myself and make this as self-service as possible. And then the same thing can be said for the buddy program. And the buddy program, again, is a one-time, one-shot, 1 hour, ask me anything, do anything you want with someone that's a level above you. So if you're a current member, that would mean anybody that's a reviewer, approver, maintainer, etc. This could be 1 hour of code review, 1 hour of pair programming, 1 hour of Ask Me Anything, 1 hour of a bunch of Kubernetes ecosystem questions. It's really whatever the person wants. So again, self-service, my self-service brain says the only way that this is going to scale is if we have automation behind this, which is very similar automation to like the group mentoring thing, where ideally the mentor would get an email that says, ping, you've matched with someone, and then that someone would ultimately just need for a human to schedule a calendar invite. And there's actually some like IFTT things that I've seen that might even be able to schedule the calendar for us. So again, if you have any experience or any interest in automation, this is the project for you. That's where I am right now with mentoring. The mentor guide is almost ready. If anybody here would like to review it, I would love some second eyeballs. I'm trying to keep this as short and concise as possible from like a mentor guide perspective. So let me know and I'll pass it to you. It looks like Gwyn, oh, actually, Eeyore, you said, what's wrong with GSOC? Nothing's wrong with it. I meant we had no control over the framework of it and how the program itself is built. GSOC, which is Google Summer of Code, already has the framework. They already know what they're doing. It's essentially a third party that we are. It's essentially a third party that we are going after. So, and then Gwyn, you had a question?
No, just send me a link for the review of the mentoring guide.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
So regarding the automation stuff.
Yep.
I'd like to actually see a doc on the requirements, because
yep.
It doesn't just, with my shallow knowledge, it seems to me that the buddy program and group mentoring require very different things. For the buddy program, we just need really an enhanced calendar. That is a way for a potential mentor to put a couple of hours a week on their calendar saying I'm available during these hours, and then a way for potential mentees to sign up for those so that the mentor can see that he has somebody on those hours.
I was thinking about getting even more granular with it, and this is where my I'll send you my requirements, but ideally, I mean, right now we have 60 people already signed up, and I haven't even advertised. So this is going to get even bigger and larger. So therefore, you as a maintainer might think it's more beneficial to you to be hooked up or linked up rather with someone in your SIG. So I'd like to see it by SIG. I'd like to see it by what the person thinks they want to do. There's a couple other granular areas. And so I've already went into the form and identified the fields that need automation. So I'll show that to you, and I'll show you my requirements after the call. But I mean, this is the best way, I think, to get humans out of this. I feel like every mentoring program that I've come into to interface with in the past has failed in the area because they rely on one human to do a lot of these things that I'm talking about. So the matching pieces, the setting up of whatever framework it is, and then they ultimately just don't scale fast enough. So that's where I'm thinking about the self-service elements and the automation elements that will help us scale.
Yeah, it seems I'm doing some Googling right now, because it seems like if there was a good piece of software out there to handle office hours for organizations, it would actually be adaptable for this. So I'm looking to see if anything exists.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yes, please research away in that area for sure. I have not. That's why I said I've only looked at IFTT to see what they offer. It looked like they had some calendarization, but I have not dug any deeper than that.
Yeah, and honestly, as an IFTT user, they're a little janky. So yeah, we would want to test it out pretty thoroughly.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. And I'm not married, like I said, I'm not married to that. I've just looked to see what we were working with.
I was just thinking like there's got to be something, for example, something that worked well for scheduling academic office hours
Yep.
Where, if such a thing exists, would be almost perfect for this.
Exactly.
I'm not sure for group mentoring whether or not that would work using the same sort of thing. I don't
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah, no, because this would be setting them up with 3 months worth of biweekly meetings and multiple people in the group. So I think that at that point, we would have to have a human in it. But I'm not necessarily concerned with that. I mean, that's like advanced automation, which I just want to get this off the ground. And then we can talk about like the advanced stuff. But so that's mentoring, y'all. Questions, concerns, comments? All right.
I have a question. Couple questions actually.
Yep.
There is it's so I'm a little bit confused because, well, I'm still fairly new, and the group mentoring, moving from, for example, just a regular member to a reviewer status is something that is sort of project dependent, right?
Yep.
It's area dependent. What is the support, or are we at this point, is it possible to go through that group mentoring a couple times to get more? Okay, so it's definitely by project. Okay, cool. So I guess my question, hey, I'm a reviewer in one area, but I'd love to become a reviewer in another area, or so.
Exactly.
Okay. So just sign up for that, and is there a way for me to specify which area I'm interested in?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
I'm gonna link the form to the notes as well.
Thank you.
And please, and if anybody on the call wants to test the form, just do me a favor and write test in as the name, and then I'll know it's you. Not know it's you, but I'll know that I can delete that information. But hold on, let me get the link. And then I'll paste it in the chat and then also in the notes. So, and this form is supposed to be, it's not quite yet, but it would be a one form for all. So if you're signing up to be a mentor, a mentee, etc., there's logic in the form that will kick off depending on what your answers are to certain questions. So you won't get the whole form if you've only clicked so many things. So feel free to test that as well. Hold on, I'm trying to navigate my thousands of tabs here so I can add this link. Okay, here we go. Mentor form. Oh, and I did. So there is the fifth. I just remembered the fifth one. So the fifth one is meet our contributors. And the reason why I'm considering that a mentoring program is because it's a quick way. It's called, I'm thinking of it as like a mentors on demand. It's very similar to office hours for those who've never participated before, but 5+ contributors get on a Zoom call and we live stream it via YouTube, and people answer questions that are like, why is my ED, like, why do I need ED testing here? Why is my test flaking? How'd you get into Kubernetes? How can I be an approver? What SIG should I join? Those are the questions that we've gotten in the past. They literally scour, the gamut of like what people would ask. And this is awesome. I mean, I've gotten a lot of very good positive feedback from this, so I definitely want to continue to finesse this. If there's anybody on the call that wants to participate in the next one, which is the next Wednesday, actually, so it's the first Wednesday of every month, at 3:30 and 9 p.m. UTC, by the way. Feel free to get in contact with me. I'd love to have any of you that's on this line right now on. I know Eeyore's done it. Gwen, have you done it? I think you've done it, right? Gwen, why don't you come on? And yeah, I think everybody, yeah, Tim, Zadev, all of you would be awesome on, Josh, all of you would be awesome on this call. If you can pick a time next week, let me know and I'll send you the calendar invite with all the dates and stuff. Yeah, Eeyore did it from his cave once, and that was so awesome because like all of a sudden it's just this dark, and then you see Eeyore like lit up by his laptop screen. That was so awesome. So yeah, feel free to let me know. Like I said, this is an awesome way. I've got like a little a slide now that's going to go in the front, and it's going to be a little bit more official and less like janky. Uh, and then I'm also writing a blog post on it for CNCF, so we can get some more press out of it. But it's really cool. I think we had 60 people watch it live the last time, so that's a lot. Plus, I think we've had over 100 people watch the YouTube, so it's getting up there. And then, yeah, Gwen, there's an afternoon session too. So if little Gwen is busy in the morning with you, you can always pop in on the afternoon. So now that's definitely it for mentoring. So mentors on demand, meaning I need a mentor right now. And then I need someone to help me through a 2 to 3 month period while I go to the next level. And I'd love to interact with my peers in doing that and help other peers along the way. That's group mentoring. I'm a student and I'd like to get involved in Kubernetes. That's Google Summer of Code. I'm an underrepresented individual in open source, and I'd love to learn Kubernetes. That's outreachy. And then, gosh, I keep forgetting what was the other one buddy program. Oh, and yes, I'd love to have one-on-one time with someone, but I don't necessarily have the time to have a steady mentor, and that's buddy program. So those are all like the business justifications for each one, if you want to think about it like that, and kind of like what they all hit and why we're doing each one of those. Again, with time as like the main deal here is when I first came onto the project, I did a survey of 150 people. Almost every single one said that time was their major problem with why they don't mentor currently. So all of those things that were created with the time commitment in mind, in a very minimal setting. So that's behind what's in my brain right now.
So by the way, I think I sort of let you know this, but I can't supervise an outreaching intern for the next cycle.
That's fine. I told them that like we just couldn't do it this time.
Yeah, I mean, I still think putting out a thing for an outreach intern to work on automation would be great. Whether it's we have a lot of automation related things for the project that we wish someone were doing.
Yep.
And a lot of it is, could be reasonable, entry level stuff. But somebody needs to supervise that person. So either it's going to be somebody else, or it'll wait until I manage to cycle off the release team.
Yep. And honestly, outreachy out of all of the programs that I just mentioned is the most time consuming. Yes. And it's more on the traditional side for sure. Traditional meaning you have regular check-ins with the individual, like on a weekly basis. You are pretty much, I would say, borderline teaching them things. Whereas the mentors, and you'll see in the mentor guide too, when I post that in here, the mentor guide is really talking about how you're a coach and how you're an advisor. You're not necessarily a teacher. You're here to like push people towards the right direction and give them introductions and sponsor them in their journey, but you're not necessarily here to be a teacher. If you do want to be a teacher, that's great. Like that means that you're going above and beyond the expectations. But I'm trying to lay the foundation that no, you don't need to do those. That is not expected of you. All that's expected of you is to be a friendly voice and guidance in this complex project. So, yeah, no, and Josh, that's totally okay. I get it. Like I said, I've had the conversation with the outreachy organizers about how this is very much a time-consuming effort that outreachy is, but it is worthwhile, and it definitely does have a lot of positive benefits to it. But again, totally aware that it's a large time commitment to ask of anyone. So
yeah, I mean, for people on, the SIG side and that sort of thing, I can start polling people again. I need to look what the outreach schedule looks like. for the contributors from Red Hat, it's much easier to get time for people in the fall than it is now.
Yep. Well, and the problem with us is we just ran the one in the fall and we butted up against KubeCon and then all of the holidays in December. So, I mean, they really didn't even kick off until January. So they started beginning of December and then they went January, February, and those were the 3 outreachy months. But December was pretty much a wash. And I felt really bad. I didn't know how to manage that because like I said, KubeCon was a whole week. And then like all of the mentors were out for between 1 to 2 weeks at some point in December and January. So it was really difficult to get that going.
Yeah, I should actually provide some feedback to Sarah and just say, hey, having an outreach cycle start in December is just really not a good idea.
Right.
We can't be the only ones having this problem with the holidays.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I think it would be so much better if it was like it started in September and then maybe ended at like, Thanksgiving or, at the end of November timeframe. But yeah, that was really difficult. So, I mean, I think our spring, if we do join Outreachy again, we should definitely do the spring, which starts, I think like in a month, which would have less, holidays and things involved in it.
If schedules are a problem, nothing stops us from having an internship with our own, having just an internship with our own, give people a leg up acceptance criteria.
Yep.
So the aside from needing to pay the person, but we could maybe work out something with the CNCF for that.
Yep.
The
we're on the same page. All right. Next thing outside of mentoring. Oh, sorry, Josh.
Yeah. So for group mentorship, one of the things I'm concerned about for the health of the project, and will admit to not having put much energy into this because of other things, is getting people up to approver status. Because it was really clear from this last release cycle that we just do not have enough approvers in some SIGs.
Yeah.
We had SIGs where there's basically 3 approvers and 2 out of the 3 had, PTO or something else.
Yeah.
And that's just going to get worse. It's not going to get better. So,
so I mean, this like group mentoring could definitely come into play here. I think we just need to figure out how to make this self-service because right now SIGs don't know how to spin up a group. And fair enough, because I've been spinning up the groups on the back end with, I've been going to each SIG individually and saying, hey, participate in this test. So that's what I mean by like, that is not going to be sustainable. So me going to SIGs, asking them to spin up groups is not sustainable. So that's why I'm trying to think of how we can automate that process to let SIGs know that people are interested in going to whatever X level is in their SIG. And then how can we get that information into a build phase, meaning build them the framework that they need for their group mentoring piece and, just monitor it and things like that. So I think it works. Like I said, like 50% rate for the test from going from member to reviewer, that's awesome. And especially like I said, with all the known issues that we were going to have with it. So I'm a firm believer in peer mentoring. Like I think that is the key to group mentoring is the peer piece, peers helping other peers, which creates a less time burden on that individual. So and I think if we get it out to the SIGs that they themselves, and when I say they, I mean their leads, their chairs, their technical leads, their sub-project owners, whatever, don't actually need to be the ones mentoring, meaning like it can be just one of their everyday approvers, then that is exactly what we need to get across from a message perspective. So how we can do that is what we're working on right now. So
real quick, Patty, sorry, we're going to the next topic. So I'll be reaching out to you for next Wednesday or the following week uh, for this program. But I was just wondering, is there any number limits on people can sign up? I was looking at the form, interested in either group mentoring or the buddy program, or
No,
we don't have to worry about that right now, guys. Okay.
oh, yeah, no. No limits that I can see as of right now. That would be an issue. I mean, for Meet Our Contributors, it would be cool if we saw different contributors each time, but it's not necessarily required. We have gotten a lot of different questions each session, so you might have to answer the same thing twice, but no, it's not necessarily an issue for repeats.
Okay. Cool, thanks.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk really briefly about the community meeting tomorrow. We are doing a retro instead. I'm going to email KDev here shortly. I did reach out to the SIG leads to let them know that we are bumping them a week, and we're going to do the retro instead. We will still do the announcements. We will still do the shout outs. We will still do the demo. So I think maybe 20 minutes after the hour, we'll probably get started on the retro, and then there'll most likely be another follow-up to the retro as well. So that is community meeting stuff. And then did anybody have anything else for today? No? All right. I still need to do the charter, y'all. I'm so sorry. Like, I am so swamped, but I still need to do the charter.
I don't know about anybody else.
I know the chart. I'm just so swamped right now. But we have our first draft charter, and what I'm talking about is now that we have TLs and sub-project owners, I just need to get them on the charter, and then get Garrett off of the chair spot and into a TL spot. But that's pretty much it. So
yeah, we don't need any additional review or anything.
No, it's just us taking in the steering committee guidance. Hold on, why does this light keep going off? Taking in the steering committee guidance and applying that to our current charter. And again, the steering committee guidance is the word chair instead of SIG lead, and technical leads and sub-project owners. All right. Well, that's it for me, y'all. Lots to do.
Yeah.
Questions, concerns, comments?
Pretty much the only Contrivex stuff I've been doing for the last couple of weeks has been DevStats related, and we now have our own meeting for DevStats. So
yay, DevStats! I'm so excited. And for those on the call, I think Chris, I'm not sure if you know, we do have a fancy dashboard for all things Kubernetes metrics. I've been doing, it's k8s.devstats.cncf.io, Chris, if you're listening and you don't know. But this is an amazing tool, and Josh is working out some of the technical discrepancies with the tool so that we can continue to iron that out.
Yeah. By the way, we just found one of the major instances of double counting.
Yes.
So,
yes.
And I actually did want to bring that up at today's meeting because the DevStats meeting got canceled today. So, so we found out this instance, it's a double counting of commits, basically. Sometimes triple or quadruple counting. Lucas is rebuilding the stats based on having eliminated that double counting.
Awesome.
Any reason why we would not want him to make the corrected data live?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think.
I'm just not sure because it's going to, if somebody doesn't look at the history, it's going to look like we suddenly have a major drop in commit numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, he's rebuilding the history too.
Yeah.
Basically, for anybody who wasn't following the issue, what it is that We have repos that are basically copies of directories within Kubernetes, that are broken out for development of plugins and other third-party components so that they can track only the part they care about. And we were counting commits against those repos, which are copies of commits against KK. And sometimes because of how the staging works, those go into the staging repos multiple times. So we're now not going to be tracking those repos at all anymore, because their information is entirely duplicative. But it does mean that we're going to suddenly see. I still think we're overcounting contributors as well, but I haven't figured out why.
No, it's just because multiple contributors, I mean, well, you as the individual contributor are contributing to multiple repos. And I mean, I don't think that's necessarily the majority of our contributors, but I think it's enough where we see discrepancies.
Yeah. Well, you can see it is actually, if you look at the new and episodic contributors, new and occasional contributors, you'll notice that we supposedly have more new contributors than we have new contributions, which is not possible. So we are clearly overcounting those people somehow.
Yeah. I guess figuring out where.
The math and complicated databases.
Yeah, no, but I think it's gotten much better. And I also think that has to do with me being in the tool more too, and getting more comfortable with the tool, which doesn't necessarily help for people that have never looked at the tool before, because they probably still think it looks daunting. But it's getting better, and I'm super happy about it. Okay. It would just be really great if we could, at any moment in time, someone even new could open it up and be like, hey, let's see how many contributors Kubernetes has today, which is something that I don't think someone can do at this point in time. Anybody that's on the call right now, that's not Josh or I dare you to go to DevStats and then get the data for how many contributors that we've had this year. If you could find that, then that's awesome, and we're on target.
Well, I mean, right now it's not a problem that's hard to find, because if you got it, it would be wrong. So,
yeah.
So it's actually kind of better that it's hard to find currently.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for me. Short session this week. Anybody else have anything?
One of the other things I'm going to say, and I don't know where we would address this in terms of mentoring or other stuff, but here's an area the release team identified as a critical vulnerability for Kubernetes development: SIG scalability. It's become pretty clear that there are literally only 3 people in the entire Kubernetes project who understand the scalability tests, and the underlying requirements for maintaining Kubernetes scalability, and that SIG scalability has suffered a lot of attrition and participation in general. And that, I mean, more or less the shortage of contributors in SIG scalability pretty much directly led to the week delay in releasing 110. And it could have been worse than a week. If we were looking for a SIG to focus on in terms of this is where we need to attract new contributors, this is where we need to mentor people to level up, etc., I would say SIG scalability is it for this quarter.
Let's do it. Do you want to meet with the leads, me and you, and we can talk about how they can grow their base? Okay, I'll get a meeting together and CC you. Anybody else? All right. It's been real. All right. Happy Wednesday, y'all. Have a good day. See you in Slack.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
Yep, bye.